The ancient blueprint for modern power, the Stoic guide to true freedom. In a world where chaos screams for your attention, where every headline is a demand, every failure a label, and every desire a chain, what if you could rise above it all, not by escaping reality, but by mastering it? What if the secret to peace, power, and unshakable freedom has been waiting in the silence all along, buried in the wisdom of ancient minds who discovered a path not just to survive the storm, but to become the calm within it? This is the gateway to transcendence. Welcome to Stoic Gateway. Stoicism begins where you least expect it, inside your own mind. There is a place within you, calm, ancient, and untouched by the chaos of the world, a place not swayed by the winds of fortune or misfortune, not disturbed by the tremors of anger, desire, or fear, but rather a place forged in the stillness of reason, the silence of wisdom, and the armor of virtue. And it is here, in this hidden sanctuary of the soul, that transcendence begins, not as an escape from life, but as a mastery. And if you've ever felt that the world is spinning too fast, that society's expectations are chains rather than wings, or that the pursuit of wealth, status, and power has left you hollow rather than whole, then understand this. The ancient Stoics, men like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, and Musonius Rufus, walked this same earth, breathed the same air, and yet rose above the noise, not by withdrawing from the world, but by transcending it from within. Look well into thyself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if thou wilt always look. Marcus Aurelius. This is not merely a poetic sentiment. It is a call to recenter your life, to no longer chase fleeting pleasures or dread inevitable pain, but to return to your own mind, the one thing you truly possess, and cultivate it like a sacred garden where only truth, discipline, and wisdom are allowed to grow. To transcend through Stoicism is not to float above the world detached from all things. It is, instead, to become deeply engaged with life, while no longer being enslaved by its illusions. It is the transformation of the self, the sharpening of the soul, the awakening of inner freedom so unshakable that not even the collapse of an empire can touch it. Imagine a man in chains, his body beaten, his name slandered, and his possessions taken, and yet, somehow, he smiles. His gaze is clear, his heart untroubled, and his mind sharper than ever. That man is not a myth. He is Epictetus, once a slave in Nero's Rome, who endured cruelty not by resisting fate, but by mastering his response to it. And through the fires of suffering, he emerged not bitter, but wiser, freer than those who owned cities and commanded armies. We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. Epictetus. Here lies the seed of transcendence, that the true measure of freedom is not in having no constraints, but in becoming so internally fortified, so disciplined in thought, and so serene in virtue that nothing external can violate your peace. And what is this peace that the Stoics speak of? It is not ignorance of suffering, nor the absence of hardship, but rather the quiet dignity with which we meet pain, and the quiet humility with which we meet joy. An inner equipoise, built not overnight, but through daily training, reflection, and the commitment to live as if your soul were already divine. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. And this waste," he warns, "is not always in distraction or laziness, but often in the frantic pursuit of things that do not matter. In chasing applause, validation, vanity, or vengeance, which are all illusions that promise fulfillment but deliver dependency." The Stoic path to transcendence begins with a simple but radical premise, that the only true good is virtue, and the only true evil is vice, and everything else, fame, money, pleasure, pain, is merely indifferent, neither blessing nor curse, unless you choose to let it control you. Consider Marcus Aurelius, emperor of the most powerful empire on earth, yet he wrote not of conquest or power, but of self-discipline, compassion, and the fragility of life. He reminded himself daily, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. For he knew that death is not the enemy, but the mirror that helps us see what truly mattered. To transcend is to live every moment with full presence, full intention, full awareness that this moment right now is the only thing you ever truly own. The past is smoke, the future is mist, and all power lies in how you show up right now, in this instant, as a virtuous being or a slave to emotion. Stoicism teaches that perception is everything. The world is not what happens to you. It is what you think about what happens to you. Two people can face the same trial. One collapses into bitterness, the other rises into strength. And the difference is not in circumstance, but in mindset. Man is disturbed not by things, but by the views he takes of them. Epictetus. This is why the Stoics trained their minds like warriors, challenging their assumptions, questioning their fears, and practicing detachment from praise and blame alike. To transcend is not to be cold, it is to be clear. It is to look upon misfortune and say, this too is fuel for my fire. For the Stoic does not waste suffering, but transforms it into strength. Just as fire transforms wood into light and warmth. And when others insult you, betray you, or try to provoke you, remember this: you are not obligated to join them in their madness. You are free to respond with calm, with wisdom, with that quiet inner smile that says, you do not control me. I am the master of my own mind. So why is Stoicism more relevant than ever in our age of distraction, anxiety, and endless comparison? Because we are more connected than ever, but more lonely than ever. We are flooded with opinions, but starving for wisdom. We are free to do anything, yet imprisoned by everything. And amidst this noise, Stoicism offers silence. Not emptiness, but clarity. Not isolation, but independence. Not coldness, but courage. To transcend today is not to escape the world, but to rise within it, to be surrounded by temptation, yet remain pure, to be pressured by chaos, yet stay composed, to be admired, yet not enslaved by admiration. Transcendence is not an event, it is a daily act, like a sculptor shaping stone. Each thought you control, each emotion you refine, each desire you restrain, and each hardship you endure with grace. These are the invisible chisels carving your soul into something unshakable, radiant, and eternal. So begin each day as Marcus Aurelius did, with a morning meditation. Before touching your phone, before speaking to anyone, ask yourself, what kind of person will I be today? Will I meet insult with patience, adversity with courage, pleasure with temperance, and success with humility? And end your day like Seneca, reflecting on your actions, not to shame yourself, but to improve yourself. What did I do well? Where did I fail? What can I do better tomorrow? Over time, this ritual becomes a transformation, and this transformation becomes transcendence, not a mystical flight from reality, but a fierce return to the truth of who you were meant to be. To transcend through Stoicism is to understand that adversity is not your enemy. It is your instructor in disguise. It is the forge in which the soul is purified. It is the storm that reveals whether your roots run deep. And the Stoics knew that without challenge, without discomfort, without the resistance of fate, a man cannot grow, cannot harden, cannot transform into something worthy of reverence. Not from others, but from himself. And so they welcomed hardship, not masochistically, but as a sacred duty to the soul. When something happens, the only thing in your power is your attitude toward it. You can either accept it or resent it. Epictetus. This is where the modern world often misguides us, teaching us to fear pain, to flee discomfort, to numb and distract ourselves at the first sign of inner tension. But the Stoic, the one on the path of transcendence, understands that the mind is like a muscle, and it grows not through ease, but through struggle. And so, rather than run from difficulty, you meet it like a warrior, saying, "I was made for this." Pain becomes purpose, discomfort becomes discipline, and fear becomes fuel. Every loss, every betrayal, every moment where you feel the weight of the world pressing on your chest is not the end. It is the beginning of your ascent. In a world that shouts, the Stoic listens. In a time where attention is currency and noise is the norm, the ability to remain still, to remain composed, to be deliberate in speech and restrained in judgment, is no longer just a virtue, it is a revolution. And the one who can keep his mouth closed while his mind remains clear, who speaks only when words improve upon silence. This is not about being passive. This is about becoming impenetrable. When you do not react to insult, you expose the pettiness of the attacker. When you do not respond to provocation, you rise above the level of those who are enslaved to their own emotions. And in that silence, you will find power. The kind of power that cannot be stolen or bought, because it does not depend on others, only on you. So the next time the world tests your peace, do not shout louder. Go quieter. Go inward. Transcend through stillness. Transcend through restraint. For even the gods, the ancients believed, admired the one who did not need to prove himself. And what does it mean to walk through life like that figure in the storm, unbent, unswayed? It means you have realized the ultimate Stoic principle, that your character, your choices, your ability to align with virtue, these are the only things that truly belong to you. And once you accept that everything else is borrowed, your body, your possessions, your reputation, even the people you love, you stop clutching and start living. Detachment is not indifference. Detachment is clarity. It is seeing things as they are, not as you wish them to be. It is understanding that clinging only brings suffering, and that true freedom is the ability to love fully while letting go freely. To love is to wish someone to be what they are, not to wish to possess them. Marcus Aurelius, paraphrased, the Stoic learns to let go, not of love, but of neediness. Not of effort, but of control. Not of connection, but of expectation. And it is through this inner loosening that you transcend the cycle of disappointment. For no longer are you bound to the outcomes of others' choices, no longer enslaved to the approval of the crowd, no longer ruled by the rise and fall of fortune. And what is left when all external dependencies are gone? Peace. That calm, immovable center of your being. The one thing death cannot touch and misfortune cannot reach. To transcend is not just to rise above, it is to return. To return to nature, to return to the natural order. To align your soul with the Logos, the rational principle that governs the cosmos. The divine fire that burns in all things, from the stars in the heavens to the conscience within your heart. The Stoics did not see man as separate from nature, but as a spark of it, a miniature cosmos within the cosmos, a rational being given the sacred task of living in harmony with nature's laws. And when you act with justice, temperance, courage, and wisdom, you are not merely being virtuous, you are aligning with the very order of existence. This is why Marcus wrote, "What is not good for the beehive cannot be good for the bee." The individual who lives for himself alone decays, but the one who serves the greater harmony, who acts not from ego but from principle, that person transcends mortality. not because their name will be remembered, but because their spirit became eternal through alignment with truth. You are not here to conquer the world. You are here to conquer yourself. And in that conquest, paradoxically, you become one with the world, no longer fighting reality, but flowing with it, like the river that shapes mountains, not by force, but by patience, by consistency, by trust in its nature. Freedom is not doing whatever you want. That is slavery to impulse. True freedom, the kind the Stoics cherished, is doing what is right, regardless of what you feel. And in that practice of self-mastery, you become unconquerable, because your happiness no longer depends on comfort, and your identity no longer depends on others. It is the power of the mind to be unconquerable. Seneca. Discipline is the bridge between philosophy and practice. Without it, Stoicism is just an idea. With it, Stoicism becomes a transformation. A way of walking through the fire without being burned. A way of remaining kind in a cruel world. A way of being excellent without the need for applause. Wake early, reflect often, speak less, read deeply, judge slowly. Choose courage when fear beckons. Choose silence when anger tempts. Choose compassion when bitterness calls. And with each choice you rise, not as a saint, but as a sovereign of your own mind. All Stoic thought culminates in one practice: memento mori. Remember that you will die, not to sadden you, not to frighten you, but to awaken you. When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. Marcus Aurelius. Death is not the enemy, it is the horizon. And when you keep death before you, every moment sharpens, every encounter deepens, every word carries more weight. You stop postponing your best self. You stop waiting for permission. You begin to live with fierce urgency and quiet grace, because you know that time is the one thing you cannot beg, borrow, or steal. And if you live rightly, if you live wisely, virtuously, and with integrity, then death will not be a defeat. It will be a completion, a closing of the circle, a return to nature. And your soul, refined through discipline and aligned with truth, will have already transcended long before your final breath. So what does it mean to transcend through Stoicism? It means to live awake in a world that sleepwalks. It means to carry peace in the midst of war. It means to suffer with dignity, succeed with humility, and live not for applause, but for alignment with the highest in you. It means to no longer chase what cannot satisfy, but to become what cannot be shaken. It means to return to your nature, to reclaim your sovereignty, and to stand in the storm with your soul untouched, because you have built your house on virtue, not vanity, not reaction, not passing trends, but on timeless wisdom. This is the path, this is the gateway, and it is not out there, it is within. You don't need more time. You don't need more followers. You don't need more approval. You need only one thing: the courage to live by truth. And once you do, nothing can harm you, because you are no longer part of the storm. You have become the calm. So if this message reached something deep within you, if it stirred the part of your soul that's tired of noise, tired of fear, tired of being ruled by the world, then understand your transformation begins not tomorrow, not next year, but now. Right now, you have the power to take the first step, to rise above distraction, to return to virtue, to master your mind and live by a standard higher than applause, higher than desire, higher than fear. This is not a trend. This is not motivation. This is Stoicism, pure, ancient, and eternal. And this is your Stoic Gateway. If this video gave you clarity, strength, or stillness, subscribe for more timeless teachings that go beyond surface wisdom. Because on this channel, we don't chase the algorithm, we study the soul. Tap the like button to tell the algorithm we're building something deeper than dopamine. And leave a comment below. What's one Stoic idea you're going to live by this week? I read every comment, and I'd love to hear how you're applying these truths in your life. Also check out our other videos on the playlist. Welcome to Stoic Gateway,